this class of racing on the huge offering for the 69th running of the New Zealand Grand Prix. Very special race meeting. So Vinchel, as we said, will line up on pole position. Gary Derrick rejoins the Class 2, which is great in that unmistakable Porsche of his. Angus, who had a pretty good weekend alongside Nicholas Cutfield on Road 2. Duncan McCrosty and Steve Sullivan, Road 3 for this one. When we talk about the field swelling in numbers, Ethan Hurrigan, who you're talking about there before in the Cayman. We've got a Cayman GT4 in the class this weekend too.
We've
really
got
cool.
two of them actually, yeah. John Buchanan out there as well in his one. More local knowledge with John. So the Hurricanes, unfortunately, just before they've gone out, just now, they're having a little issue with the engine, which is unusual. So we'll have to wait and see what happens there.
Yeah, I was actually talking to Ethan Hurrigan and Mark Hurrigan before this, and it sounds like they've had some issues with that car the last couple of days. So they've done their best to try and get it sorted, but it sounded like actually Ethan was saying the car was really fast in qualifying, but it had an engine issue of some sort that prevented them from going a lot quicker. So we'll have to wait and see how they unfold with that, and how they manage that throughout the race, and how long.
Well, don't be surprised if we see them rolling in after lap one, just because it's not worth damaging the car. But the irony of that is that's why you buy those Cayman GT4s, is that nothing ever goes wrong with them. You know, that's the unfortunate thing for this. Long way to come to have that sort of issue.
Absolutely. So another little story too, just to kind of debrief from last weekend. Tim Robinson in the 777 in the Porsche 944. A little bit of damage at the end of the weekend in Terratonga.
Yeah.
Here comes the car now. It looks pristine again. I think they had enough parts, did they not? I mean, they've come down from Hawke's Bay on the North Island, and they've stayed down in this part of the world for the week. But I think they had enough to repair that car.
They did. They were fortunate, but there's been a few stories of like last night, Mark McCorn, who we were talking about before, a late night drive to Christchurch and back to get some stuff. So that's racing though, isn't it? You know, whatever happens, you've got to make the grid for the next race. But yes, the Tim Robinson in that red car is leading our club championship. There's a motorsport championship and a club championship. He's leading that at the moment. So lots of incentive to get that car sorted and back out on the grid.
Which of our cameramen, I can't see, someone on the bridge there with one of the best vantage points around Highland. Is that Grant? I'm trying to remember who that is. And giving us the thumbs up, the big wave at the moment. Who is that? We'll get out direct. Oh, Graham. It's Graham. And apparently can do the shimmy too. Making it fun here at Highlands Motorsport Park. Also, we have a very, very dedicated TV crew. We gave people a window into that last week on social media, took you behind the scenes, and it's even bigger here for Highlands this weekend, given that it's the 69th running of the New Zealand Grand Prix. So thank you to the guys and girls who make our TV just such fun to do, but importantly, such great quality for you watching right around the world on the Stuff Speed Hubs. So this is Pirelli Porsche Championship. Has been to a couple of stops on the North Island, back-to-back weekends of racing from Terratonga and Invercargill last week to Highlands here, and it will wrap up in about a month's time, I think, Stu, won't it? So
at Hampton Downs, yes, yeah. This is fourth of the 5 rounds. And we've also got joining us, you can just see the bright yellow car up there, a couple of classic Porsches. In fact, the sort of Porsches we were racing more than 25 years ago. So we'll talk about that as they get picked up on the cameras.
And Jacob Bellamy's back as well on the grid, Stu.
Another long, hard story. Yeah, had to pull the engine out, put another engine in, and
didn't get any racing miles, I think, at Terratonga, and they had to go to Christchurch, didn't they, to repair it?
Exactly, another big drive and a fair bit of exhaustion.
Here we go, lights on, revs rise, the unmistakable 6 cylinders at the front of the field, and they launch away. Now someone, I think Daniel Angus has had a tough start there and is under siege, some of them right up on the rev limiter as they run down into the bus stop section here. Gary Derrick leads the way.
Great start from Gary Derrick. The other cup, the car of Vinshop's got a small carbon fibre clutch, and they were worried about getting it off the line, but it is quicker, so we're in for a little battle here. It'll be fun to watch.
Already starting to come into its own, to Stu's point. Plays a little defensive though, and around the outside gets the move done too on the approach to the undersection of the bridge. That's Stephen Sullivan, so the 69's had a great start.
Yeah, and the 991s, it really is off the start. They've done the job, so we've got a 991 Generation 2 leading a 991 Generation 1 with Vinshop there in the 997 Cup S, followed by Nicholas Cupfield in a 997 Cup car So all these awesome different variants of the Cup cars out the front. Steve Sullivan obviously with a great start there to get himself up into second. Down there at the hairpin, Gary Derrick's got a bit wider line. I don't think he quite made the apex there, but it's given Steve Sullivan a bit more of an edge as they come up down towards the bridge.
Yeah, that Cup car of Nick Cutfield, we just see him coming to shot now. That's punching way above his weight. That's about 5 generations old, that Cup car. But look, he's hanging right in there with all the later model Cup cars.
We spoke with him yesterday during Friday practice. We've got now.
Yeah,
you were talking about this, weren't you? So
Ethan Hurrigan, unfortunately, so clearly an issue, severe issue with that car, and really disappointing because, you know, he was talking to him, and based on his pace previously in that car around here, he would have been up there probably fighting somewhere with those Cup cars. So
he would.
It's disappointing to say the least for those guys, but hopefully they can find the issue and maybe bring that car back out tomorrow.
So focusing there on our Kensway car, that's our championship leader at the moment.
Kensway, like Pirelli, great backers, and he's had an awkward exit through there, and Shelby's going to go right round the outside. In fact, it might be Cupfielders. Who's going around the outside there? Great move. McCrosty, sorry, yes.
So Daniel Angus has clearly had a moment of some sort there, and he slowed right up, maybe scared himself a little bit. He's now dropped a bit of time back to McCrosty, and that was the battle for 6th, I think. So
well done,
Angus has dropped back to 7th.
Easy to do that there, though, isn't it? You know, you guys know that corner. You can just go a little hot, and then next minute you're pointing at that big concrete wall. It's pretty scary.
Yeah, absolutely. We go back to the battle at the front. So Vin Schulp's all over the back of Steve Sullivan. Sullivan's car squirming under brakes there. He maybe needs to give the bias a crank forward a little bit, as we see there. Gary Derrick's still got the lead there. He's got a comfortable little margin. Vin Schulp's now attacking Steve Sullivan. He almost looked like he was going to have a look down the inside, down towards the bridge.
Gee, Derrick's car looks planted at the moment while these two battle away, doesn't it? It looks really comfortable, but we haven't had a situation quite yet with Sullivan and Schulp really putting the pressure on. Maybe that's about to change now.
Yeah, Brian Scott he's had a great start the last 2 laps. He's now up to 4th because he was a fair few spots down at the start. So good from him, and he'll be chasing after these other Cup cars up ahead and have the eyes on to try and catch them.
And Gary Derrick, probably the most experienced out of these guys. Oh, here we go. Look, that move down the inside. It's just that little bit of extra horsepower, lighter weight. Look at that, he's through.
Nice line through there.
Great move from Vin Schulp. So the 997 Cup S moves into second, and that's a Nürburgring special, that car, isn't it, Stu? It's designed to go, Cup car that was modified to go around the Nordschleife a bit quicker.
Yep, look, it's wider and more horsepower than the regular Cup cars. Quite a special car. That car was driven by the father of this driver. At the same time I was at Nürburgring racing. We didn't know each other, of course, back in those days.
Yeah, Marco Schulp, he's pretty well known in the motorsport arena here in New Zealand, but he's also got quite a history back over in Germany, and yeah, certainly a bit of a Nordschleife connoisseur and knows the Nürburgring pretty
What was
damn well.
that like? I mean, we're here at a circuit that has those classic European feels, Stu. That's obviously a lot longer, iconic venue. Super to drive something like that around there.
Yeah, look, I think you can only, if you've seen it on PlayStation or whatever, you can only imagine it at night, in the dark, with cars all around you, 200 and something cars. It's probably, you know, for us, it's like climbing Everest, I suppose. That's probably the best way to put it. And
looking back to our Boxster battle, we've got
Ian Hill and Stephen Fang.
Yeah, they are having a great time out there. The leader of the Boxsters, a couple of 944s up ahead, but these guys, Stephen Fang, he's been one of the guys that's been incredibly quick the last couple of rounds, and obviously working with our good friend Andrew Waite and loving every minute of it. So great to see there the 88 car coming up towards the hairpin. He's right on the back of Ian Hill, and I'm sure he's going to, as we see there, Ian Hill goes quite defensive, so Stephen's going to have the optimal line coming out of the hairpin and trying to line him up for a pass.
These two have got a few car links over the next group. Gee, it was an exciting battle last weekend in Invercargill. And Fang, I saw Stephen as he was walking into the track this morning, big bright smile on his face, really enjoying his weekend here at Highlands.
Yeah, he's always got a big bright smile, even when things are not going well. But he was the pole sitter for this class, and Ian Hill has jumped him. So that's quite a change for position. So let's see what Stephen Fang can do about it.
And as we look back, so Vin Schulp was actually the quickest car on the last lap with the 43.3, so that was half a second faster than Gary Derrick. So the gap between those two guys is virtually nothing at this point. So as we see there,
receive Ronan, our race director, clearly listening to you. So thank you to Tyler in the truck there as Ronan updated us on the gap between them. So this is for the lead. Gary Derrick now facing some real pressure. Shelp coming into his own. The more this race goes on in that car, which Ronan's talked about in terms of its pedigree, there's a good chance here for him to maybe sneak on by. Is it enough to get by Gary? Gary Derrick knows this place very well.
He does, and look, Marco is going to be so proud of his son out there in the car. He said he's going to be conservative. He's not out there to break any records or break any cars, so he'll be delighted with that.
Yeah, and obviously there looks a little bit more difficult for Vin to get past that 991 Generation 2. As we see there, he's made the move. He's gone around the outside, so Vin Shelp. What a brilliant little pass there, and he's managed to reverse Indy to go around the outside of Gary Derrick and take the lead.
And the reason we were watching that next battle pack is that's because Brian Scott has actually moved ahead of Steve Sullivan to third place. You can see in the background there. So, great stuff. Change for third.
He'll be so excited. Brian Scott's another one that's always got that ear-to-ear grin on him. He's just loving it. He's talking about racing with us full-time next season. That's how much he's enjoying it.
Come and play. Did a ripping job last weekend in Invercargill. So now Shelp has really started to bolt clear of Gary Derrick here.
And what a pass. It was great little manoeuvre, and he definitely, as we see here, a replay. So he's actually come off the corner a bit better there, and just, yeah, Gary Derrick, he's outbraked him there, Vin Shelp, and stayed to the outside there. Credit to Gary Derrick, he gave him room, and they got through there cleanly.
Andrew Wade talking about that corner in an earlier race today. It fades off to the left there when you come off the rise, doesn't it? And then it canvas to your right. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly right. And as Andrew did say, it's a joy to drive for a professional driver or someone at a very high level, because it does, the undulation adds a bit of another factor to how you need to take that corner. You know, maybe for people up and coming, it might be a little bit intimidating to begin with, but it really is a cool corner, and once you get the car set up to run over it nicely, it's certainly a good feeling. As we see here, Stephen Fang's taking the lead off Ian Hill.
Wow. Andrew Wade will be jumping for joy. So that's a change in position for the Boxster class, and Hill is so experienced in this class, and just like last weekend, got a really good start, got ahead of the pole sitter, but this is the stuff that I think training assists with, doesn't it? If you bide your time and try and find the right moment, and Stephen's clearly done that.
He is, and look, he is calm under fire, Stephen. He's very analytical. He can sit back and just get the big picture, which is great. But so is Ian Hill, super fast. You just see the cars in front of them too, the 944s. It's been a bit of an upset there. The class leading car has been, Tim Robinson, has been overtaken by Daniel Gross. So classes within classes, races within races here.
New fastest lap for Vin Shelp, a 1:42.103, and the margin is nearly a second now over Gary Derrick. In fact, I'd venture to say at the next timing point, it'll be even more than that, Ronan.
I reckon, actually, for Gary Derrick, he actually also went faster. They both broke into the 42s, which before that they'd been doing 43. So I reckon Gary Derrick not looking in the mirrors for Vin Shelp has actually made him drive faster as well.
There's our class battle we're talking about, the two fastest 944s there. Tim Robinson in the red car, normally used to being out the front and holding that commanding lead. But Daniel Gross has managed to slip past him there. Nice work.
The self-appointed PR and promotions manager for 944 Owners of Australia, Richard Crail, is in the house with us.
He's excited.
The moment. He loves these things. He's got one in the garage at home. I'm not sure what state of renovation it's in at the moment. Says his work to do was the Bathurst 12-hour call has been busy. So, but he's glued to the screen. Loves this stuff. And he'll be in action very soon too for an hour of competition in Somerset GT. Meantime, game on here.
Ooh,
apply the pressure.
Inside.
That's a good move from Robinson. Just try and fade and maybe force him into error in a fast part of the track too.
So Daniel Gross, he's got Craig Mechanical written on the car. That's his business. Does a lot of work with Porsches and prepares these cars. So really knows his way around.
Good to see Tim Robinson's car fixed after the issues at Terratonga as well, Stu. Obviously, the fender's not it doesn't look pretty. It looks like it's got a bit of bog and buffer on it. As we see there, big moment for Tim Robinson. He must have heard us talking about him.
Too early on the power. Yeah, look, it looks good from a distance.
Yeah,
not so good on on that side.
But at least it's straight.
At least it's going.
For the avoidance of doubt too, when I mentioned the fact that he's got a bit of support there from First Hand Coffee and the workroom and so on in Havelock North, that is not a paid advertisement. I am a customer, and I walked in there during the week, and they were chuffed. They were absolutely chuffed about the fact that A, their friend is racing and going well, and B, the kind of coverage they got last week. So a little bit of lap traffic here now for our race leader, and that's helping him in terms of the advantage. So Vin has 1.2 seconds over Gary Derrick, and the traffic working in his favour at present.
The awkward thing for these cars, for both the Boxsters and the Cup cars, is that there's a lot of marbles out there, and you're forced sometimes to go offline through the marbles to get around and through for either one of them.
Yeah, and obviously now, but you know, for Vin Shelp, he's sort of pulled out a lead, and at that point you'd think, oh, it's going to be a quiet race. But obviously, once you catch up to the traffic, it's another thing you have to learn.
Exactly.
If you want to race sports cars or run overseas in endurance racing, even here in New Zealand and higher level endurance racing, knowing how to effectively cut your way through traffic is a huge trait that a lot of people sometimes can struggle with. So it certainly can be an advantage because you can lose a lot of time behind traffic.
Right, you're coming down as a guest speaker for our next drivers briefing, and you tell them exactly that. Exactly that. I've said that so many times. So yeah, good on you, man.
We've got a guest for the drivers briefing. Please welcome Ronan Murphy. Excellent. Back we go. So now Derrick's got the advantage to the traffic. This is for the race lead. It's clearly hurt Vin Shelp somewhere, and on the run down into the bus stop, he'll get there. Shelp hangs on to it, but it's a resurgent Gary Derrick in the back end of this race.
Yeah, and he's managed to keep the lead there, so good job there from Vin Shelp, but again, more traffic. So now he's got to figure out what he's going to do there. He's got a big red and grey 911 Gen 2 Cup car in his ear there, and as he goes past the Boxsters, they both do clear them. The Boxsters do a good job to get out of the way.
They do. The good awareness there, and that's exactly what we talk about, that whole awareness thing. It's a cooperative thing. Both parties are going to be very aware.
Yeah, exactly right, Stu, and we go back to it. So Shelp's again pulled out a little bit of a lead, but Gary Derrick's not letting him run away with this one. So we've got 2 laps to go, and these guys they're pretty evenly matched at the moment. And certainly the Cup S being an older car, but a higher spec Cup car certainly makes up for any difference in age.
Now their lap times just with that traffic have dropped away, and they're kind of mirroring what Brian Scott and Stephen Sullivan have been doing, but we know that both Vin and Gary are much faster than that, so the traffic has absolutely hurt both of them. So we've got less than 2 laps to go. Which way will it play out? We know Shelp's car is incredibly good, but Gary Derrick in the chase and has made the most of it. So through comes that next group, including Stephen Sullivan in the 69 there.
And that's getting thrown on that lime green car of Cam McCormick. That's the leader of our small block Boxster class. That's the 2.5 Boxsters. So once again, a separate class altogether, and he's leading that.
Nicholas Cupfield trying to make his way through on a couple more of the Boxsters as we go back to the front.
Change for the lead.
Yes.
So Gary Derrick is in front. So makes me wonder whether Vin is maybe nursing something here. He's pretty fast through that section of the track, carries more speed.
A little wide there too, isn't he? I'm wondering if tyres are going off badly for him.
Yeah, both of those could be potentially the correct theory, but at the same time, I think he catches back up. I just think maybe Derrick's just doing a little bit better job through the traffic, maybe just confidence and experience, you know. As you said before, Stu, Vin hasn't had a lot of time in this car.
He hasn't, you're
the
right.
goal's just to have a nice, tidy, clean race and probably learn. So, as we see there, Garrick straight down the inside of Tim Robinson, and Vin sort of holding back a little bit there and just giving him, being a bit more conservative. So,
which is what he said he would do. He and his dad both said, look, we're going to be conservative about getting through this lower traffic. We don't want to wreck their race. These guys are racing for a championship in the smaller classes, so they understand. There he is wide into the marbles there. That's tricky in those cars.
Daniel, you could see looking in the mirrors in the 944 as those two approached there. So, good work.
And Daniel Angus is sort of, he was one of the guys that was really attacking for the race win last time out at Taratonga, but he's dropped back to 7th. So maybe that moment we saw earlier in the race maybe did sort of halt his rhythm a bit there, because he certainly dropped back off these guys where he probably was, obviously fighting Brian Scott very hard for the race win last time out.
He was, and we'll have to find out about that, because he qualified well, Daniel Angus, and I'm suspicious that he's got a little bit of an issue there going on, because he's dropped right back, as you say. He's running in 7th place at the moment.
Come back.
Last lap, checkered flag being shown, in fact. So on our timing, we thought that would be it. But They've thrown it out early, so we're... Well, the checkered flag's been shown there to our race leaders. I would think, as he's slowed down too as well, that Gary Derrick considers that the end of it. Our timing suggested there was one more lap. We'll get some clarity on that for you from Motorsport New Zealand Race Control, but clearly this leading pair have reacted and consider it the end of the race, as you would.
Well, I've only done 9 laps, and it was supposed to be a 10-lap race, so confusion is going to reign here because a lot of these guys don't have race radio. So that's, stand back and watch this. This could be chaos.
That's a bit of a worry. I guess just a miscommunication there between parties, but Gary Derrick's actually pushing on again a little bit by the looks of it, and now he's slowed it down again. So I'm sure these guys are probably a little bit unsure. Again, the checkered flag was waved, so I would be taking that as the race result, whether it was a lap early or not.
Yeah, if you're the crew chief for that car, what would you say? I mean, it's difficult, isn't it?
I mean, checkered flag, you'd want your driver to roll off, wouldn't you? So
yeah, exactly.
You can't really reverse a checkered flag.
That's right. Well, that's exactly right. Once, even if there's a mistake from the officials, you can't redo the race. You can't wind it back. We learned in Formula One, even, didn't we?
No safety car period either, so it's not like we will have a time certainty concern.
Exactly. Yep.
So anyway, we believe that is it. So on that basis too, we need to have a little look at the results from a Boxster perspective, and Stephen Fang crossed the line ahead of Ian Hill. So on that basis, it would give Stephen Fang the win in race 1 for the weekend of Pirelli Porsche New Zealand. Great work in that Boxster class.
So that trio, Stephen Fang, Ian Hill and Chris Taylor, tight bunch.
Righto, results for you. Gary Derrick greets that checkered flag, which appears to have sprung a little early. Vinchop, good piece of driving there, and Marco will be happy with that. Brian Scott gets into the top 3 in the end. Daniel Angus back in 7th. Guy Stewart rounds out the top 10. And then we've got to consider what happened. Daniel getting the upper hand over Tim Robinson in that 9-4-4 battle. Stephen Fang claims it of the Porsche Boxsters, and that's a terrific way to open the weekend for Pirelli Porsche here at the 69th running of the New Zealand Grand Prix. Highlights for you. First one of the weekend. Gary Derrick got a nice jump. Some of them try to use a bit of grass in the background. Vinchop settles into 2nd place. And then it was quite the fight for that 2nd spot. Vinchop would ultimately take the lead at this point with a really brave move. It's a reverse Indy. It gets ahead of Gary Derrick. Stephen Fang on the left had pole position in the Boxster class. Eventually would get by Ian Hill for the class win. Hill having the advantage to begin with. Robinson from Hawke's Bay, little sideways there as he had his eyes on a potential win in the 9-4-4 class. Gary Derrick, you can see how much more speed Schulp was carrying through that section of the circuit. We thought it would be one to go. In the end, they threw the checkered flag. Derrick was the first to greet it, and he took it out. So there's just the recap of the results we were saying there before. Cars are headed into the lane here at Highlands Motorsport Park. Don't forget, an hour of competition to come in Somerset GT. Our thanks to Stu Owers for joining us there, and he'll be back with us tomorrow on a massive Sunday of racing that we have with you. Graham's got a problem here. The umbrella's blown. Oh, what a shame. He's not happy about it too. So play ball, he's saying. He should just be happy with the beautiful background he's got. It is like a painting, that backdrop. It is surreal, just remarkable. So our various Boxster class performers have come into the lane. I can see Stephen MacGyver writing down some notes there in between time. We'll acknowledge those who are successful in this class. And we'll get a chance to do that with some of the other classes and outright tomorrow, of course, in Pirelli Porsche. Paul Fallon in the background there. Keith, George and the team who do such a great job on the coordination and the running of the event for us. They get here very early in the week and ensure all the key bits of signage for our corporate partners are in the right places and so on, and that Victory Lane area is pristine and so well run. Let's go to Victory Lane. Here's Stephen.
Thank you, Greg. 2.5 Boxster class winner Cam McCormick. Busy out there today.
Extremely. Yeah, there's heaps going on, man, because there's 3 different classes that we're all racing in amongst each other, so it's pretty full on.
So with you being a little less powerful than some of the bigger cars, how do you navigate that?
With a bit of luck, a little bit of skill as well.
But you'll take the class win.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Well, congratulations, mate.
Thank you very much.
It's Cam McCormick in P1 and Jacob Bellamy in P2. Come on over, Jacob. Mate, you can smile. P2, podium. Come on, buddy. Good fun out there?
Yeah, I'm just happy to be back after Teretonga. Fortunately, we didn't get to go out in that one due to some engine problems, but thanks to the guys at Auto Authority for chucking a new engine in Christchurch.
Nice work, mate.
Thank you.
That's P2. And where's Ash McGaughan? Come here, buddy. Come on. You've been doing well this season, hey, buddy? Hey, you'd be happy.
Thank you. I am bloody happy. You know, I'm not feeling 100%, so...
Don't stand too close to me then, mate. Get back if you're going to give me bugs.
Yeah, no, it was good to get away with the third place there. I had a really good start, so I was pleased.
Get away?
Get away, yeah.
Get away with it?
Get away with it.
What was going on?
I saw Simon in my rearview mirror, and I was like, oh, it's going to be risky, but I held on to it on the end, so...
Congratulations, P3 in the boxer class.
Thank you.